I think there's that fine line with just knowing that if you're spending $15,000 in a month and you haven't sold $15,000 in wine, that's probably you're going over budget. Sure. So first off, it's just, you got to read the market. You need to know whether or not, how busy you are.
Yes.
And how much clientele is coming in. Like even during the COVID is a great example to where we're busy for a certain amount of weeks and then all of a sudden things start to decline, and being able to adapt in that sense to where you don't order as much.
Yeah.
But it's always knowing the goal. At least in my restaurant here, since we have our prefix menu, I already know ahead of time what the pairings are going to be. So if I'm buying 2 to 3 cases for a certain wine, that should carry me through the duration until I switch with something else, to kind of change.
So the financial goal, is that defined by the general manager or the boss? Let's say, Paul, I need this much wine sales. You're responsible for this?
Well, considering that I do that now,
Okay.
I do everything. I'm kind of the one that gets to say all that.
Okay.
I think there's that fine line with just knowing that if you're spending $15,000 in a month and you haven't sold $15,000 in wine, that's probably you're going over budget.
Okay.
And that's one thing to always keep in mind is it's great to buy stuff, especially when it's not your money.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that you should always be aware of. Consider it maybe it is your money. Maybe
Yes.
consider that you are the owner,
Yeah.
and these are the things that you're doing. And again, not being overzealous or just buying into what a rep or somebody else may try to push on you. So there's always that fine line. It's just having to just know your program more than anything else. Knowing if things are selling and what's not. Mm-hmm. And if there's going to be a hiccup, if you need to pause and take a break for a few weeks to move through a few extra stocks. You may have to decline an allocation. You may have to decline something. And
So that's portfolio. Then what about on the floor? Training your reps. What are the things you say to have that second glass poured?
Sure. Again, to me, we're not selling, we're letting people buy. And that's the one thing that you should always, at least that I consider when I'm talking to people about wine, is I'm not here to sell you something. I can sell you whatever. I can sell you, whatever it is, but that's not the goal. The goal is to make the customer happy. So asking certain questions as far as do you prefer old world or new world? That's a great starting point to narrow things down. Oh, I prefer old world. Okay. Is there a certain, country? Do you prefer France or Italy? Narrowing things down. And then even at that point, once you have that, are you looking for something, lighter or heavier? Asking the qualifying questions to get people to then buy things themselves. And I put this in parameter. It looks like you want Burgundy. Here's 1 or 2 choices, and then even asking, what is the price range you're looking for? So you have a range, not a specific price, but a range, 100 to 200, 2 to 300, or whatever. Now you can narrow it down and give people a choice of 2 positives, maybe 3. But if you give people too many choices, that overwhelms them. But saying oh, hey, would you prefer this one from Pomard or this other one from Louis St. George? Yeah. I'll take that one. Great. And now we've gone ahead and now you've done your job because you've listened to what they've had to say. You've also now facilitated a solution that is tailored essentially to them. It's only because you've listened. And now you should have an educated guest knowing your product and knowing from what you said. And 99% of the time, most likely that customer is going to be happy.